Hey guys, Tyler here, and this is the Garage Warrior podcast and videocast. I'm super excited today to welcome back on the call for the second time, good friend of mine, Ben Teal. How's it going, Ben?
Going great, Tyler. I'm glad to be back. Glad to be here on the East Coast. I know you guys are enjoying the sun out on the West, but spring is finally starting to settle in here. We've had a lot of snow, and I'm excited to have the spring come in and to get outside and do some things.
I'm sure a lot of people are going to get excited as soon as that sun peeks through because I know you guys have had a pretty harsh winter on that whole northeast section of northern America.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right on, man. Well, we're going to talk about some really cool stuff. Ben and I were just at Fitness Business Summit last weekend, and we had some really good conversations about exercise, fat loss, nutrition, so on and so forth. And Ben's not exactly your typical cookie cutter trainer. So, Ben, why don't you give the listeners maybe like a 50,000-mile view? Who are you? How did you come to learn what you know now? And what are you hoping to teach people? You can just give us the brief, and then we'll expand on that throughout the whole show.
Sure, absolutely. So I'll kind of start with the beginning. I am a classically trained economist. I have a bachelor's degree from Yale, and I have a master's degree from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, both in economics. Um, Training is not my full-time gig. I do other things during the day that are more related to my degree. I am a proud father of two young boys, 6 and 4, and a proud husband of a beautiful wife. I kind of got into the training side of it a few years back. I weighed, when I started my journey, 311 pounds, give or take, and just got sick and tired of being fat, and went through a lot of trials and tribulations with trying to lose that weight. I jumped from program to program, and every time I jumped from one program to another, uh, all I learned was that apparently I screwed up my metabolism with whatever I tried before, and this was the new magic fix.
Right,
And
right.
so there was a lot of roller coaster. I'd lose 40 pounds, and then I'd put on 50, and lose 60, and then put on 70, and I was just kind of stuck. And eventually, I just got it all kind of straight in my head. And once I got it all straight in my head and everything clicked, got down to the 200, 210 range. Today I sit about 220. It seems like it's a pretty easy weight for me to maintain. Um, but it just took a couple of things triggering in my head to really be able to start shedding that fat and to get back down to a weight that I'm comfortable being.
That's cool, man. Yeah, it's an interesting story that you have there because I'm sure a lot of people get frustrated with the amount of information, right? I know that the yo-yo dieting is all over the place, and I like, for example, I talked to a woman this morning on a coaching call I had, and she lost 10 pounds in the last 6 weeks and was really frustrated about that. And I was like, well, you fall perfectly into the parameters that I consider good weight loss, And I think that we're just kind of inundated with this concept that you've got to lose all this weight super fast. It's got to be extreme. And like you said, if it doesn't work, go to the next program that tells you that program doesn't work. And in reality, we're all just kind of competing on a marketing perspective, not on a scientific perspective. Is that
Right.
what you kind of see going down, and that what you kind of observed?
Yeah, I mean, take something like the more popular weight loss shows, like The Biggest Loser,
Sure.
right? You look at that and you see that these people are losing 10, 15, 20, 30 pounds in a week. And and that becomes in your brain your new norm, right? I didn't lose 10 pounds this week, therefore either I did something wrong, my diet's not working, I didn't work out hard enough, and you get into this cycle of what's wrong instead of being able to look at what's right and to be able to move forward and having a realistic expectation of what it takes. And I think a lot of the diet programs and even the workout programs you see out there today, they're designed specifically to, in that first week or two, to get you to lose a lot of weight really fast. I mean,
Right.
you'll lose 10 pounds that first week. What they don't tell you is, you lost 8 pounds of water weight, a pound and a half of muscle, and half a pound of fat, and now your metabolism is out of whack, and but you lost 10 pounds in a week. So now the next week when you don't lose any weight, or you only lose 1 or 2 pounds, you're not blaming the system, right? You're
Right.
blaming yourself, and
Right. Yeah, that's true.
that I think that's a little marketing trick that a lot of programs have put in, and it's one for people who are trying to be honest and help people lose weight the right way. It's hard to overcome that, and so part of my mantra is, you've done all of these things and you've been confused. Do you do low carb? Do you do low fat? Is it high protein? Are you doing paleo? Should I do Tabata workouts? Should I do interval workouts? I've heard that long cardio will kill me. I know that I should be exercising in my heart rate zone to burn fat. And you have all of these things swimming around in your head, and you don't know what to do. So you try a little bit of everything, and over time it's just up and down and up and down and up and down, and you it's just a never ending cycle of how can I sell you the next thing. And I don't think that's I don't think that's the best long term solution. If you're somebody like me, if you're somebody who's busy and really don't have the time to jump from system to system, or you've been frustrated, you know what you want, and you're looking for something that's clear, simple, and that works.
Yeah. And we're going to dig into some of those concepts you got over on your webpage in a sec. I just wanted to say, like I totally agree with you about the Biggest Loser thing, and it just drives me insane because I had my dad one time, and I tried to convince him to lose weight for years. He was up towards 300 pounds, and we were watching The Biggest Loser together, and it was interesting because he would get motivated, like on a level of like, yeah, I want to do it. He would get motivated, but he wouldn't take the action afterwards because he would reason with himself that, well, he'd watch a show and he'd say, well, I want to do it, but look at these people. Look at what they have to go through in order to get results. They've got to do 1,200 calories a day. They've got to work out 5 hours a day. And I think so many people out there struggling with weight loss are looking at it from that perspective. Like, oh, in order to get the results, I have to do an hour a day, 2 hours a day. I have to eat less food, and I have to suffer. They like almost have to suffer in order to get the end result that they want. And that's not true. They just have to find something that they can be consistent with.
Right.
So,
right.
That brings us to the first point on your webpage. You talk about all scientific studies having one thing in common. Can you kind of share what that one thing is and how powerful that is?
Well, I think the most important thing that they have in common, when you see a study whether it be a 4-week study, a 12-week study, a 52-week study, is that the people who are successful at the end of those studies, they all finished the study. They finished the program they were given. And it drives me nuts a lot of times to see people that I know and I'm good friends with. We kind of have to put at the bottom of the page the normal FTC disclaimer that most people do nothing with the products they buy online. And for me, that's disappointing because the fact of the matter is if you can stick with whatever program you have, if you can stick through and follow the rules, then you're going to have some success. And people tend to do one of two things: they get frustrated and they give up, or they have what I call magpie syndrome, which is, oh, this is the new shiny thing over here. Let me go try this. I'm having results with this. Let me go try that. Let me figure out how I can add Tyler's program to Ben's program to Craig's program to Shauna's program and make this big amalgamation of programs.
Right.
And it's really much simpler than that. Find something that works for you, and then stick to it. And it's almost I know there's a big debate in the fitness community about CrossFit, but if you look at people who have bought in, it's almost like a religious experience.
Right.
Sure, people can get hurt doing it, and I don't know that I spent a whole athletic career learning how to do some of those Olympic lifts correctly. And I don't think they're probably the best thing to teach the general population, but those people live and die. I'm going to get my CrossFit workout in.
Right.
And that's why you see so many fit people, because it becomes part of them.
Yeah.
And when you're making a change of any type, if you want to attract more money, you want to lose weight, you want to be a better husband, a better father, better mother, it has to become part of you, and you have to finish such that you create habits. And people in these studies, whether it's a low carb study, whether it's a low fat study, whether it's an interval study, whether it's a Tabata study, those people who are seeing the results went through the entire program. They finished the study. The other thing they have is they have somebody they're accountable to. They're accountable to the researcher or the scientist who's running the study, so they know that they've made a commitment. They come in, they have to look at the person face to face. They have to turn in their journal and say, "Here's what I did today," and they know that somebody's watching over their shoulder. And really, that's a big part of it too. You want to have some accountability. Whether that accountability is to a personal trainer, that accountability is to a spouse. You've made a commitment to your children. Heck, if you've made a commitment to people on Facebook, you have some accountability. Somebody watching over your shoulder. And I think those are really a couple of the big keys with what's going on in the scientific studies. I mean, because the fact of the matter is you can look at anybody's fat loss program and they're backed by science. There is we joke about it occasionally, but there is literally, you can find a study to back up almost anything.
Right.
And it's great that I have this science over here that says A, and it's great that you have this science over here that says B. You know, as a fitness and trainer community, our goal is to improve people's health. At the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. Now, whether I've bought into your philosophy or you've bought into mine isn't all that relevant. It's how do we get people into the best shape we can.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you're a statistician, as a profession right now. And so your whole gig is looking at numbers, looking at statistics. Ben's modest when he talks about his education. He has like 3 patents or something like that now, right?
I do have that.
Yeah, on equations and stuff like that, right? So so you got to realize that when a lot of trainers are quoting studies, I would bet that right off the bat, 99 out of 100 of them have never even read the abstract of that study. They just got it barked at them from some other media resource, and they just became a parrot walking around going, "Rat," Tabata says this, just to repeat stuff. And then in addition to that, the 1 out of 100 people that might have read the abstract maybe didn't even really understand it. It's probably so rare that we really understand that like studies are set up a certain way and they're created a certain way to elicit a certain result or to experiment with a certain result. And a lot of times we're just repeating stuff that we don't even understand, and we're applying it to something that has just generally no context. I mean, what do you think about that? Is it really that important to quote the studies, or is the stuff that you're talking about, the finishing the workouts and the accountability, is that more important than the science behind it all?